Hello, my friends. My name is Mac. Welcome back to the Radventurer channel. Today, we've got something very important to talk about because things with e-bikes are just getting stupider and stupider. Got my buddy from Burn Peak on, and he's going to talk to us about how certain stupid laws make this a bicycle, and it creates a lot of confusion for people who are actually trying to do the right thing with e-bikes. So let's get into it.
This is a bicycle, legally speaking. See, it has pedals. Of course, you can't actually use them. The seat gets in the way, and your shoe hits the kickstand on every revolution. But
okay, so that's dumb, right? Obviously, the pedals were put into this bike to make it legal, right? Like a bike, trying to circumvent certain criteria so that they can, ride it like a bike. Let's see what else he's talking about. Sorry, my cat's being very, very, he just wants to chill today, man. He just wants to be affectionate. So I'm not going to get mad at him because, dude, this is awesome, man. I love just, okay, sorry, video.
We're just splitting hairs here. After all, you can use the throttle on this bicycle.
Yeah. No need for pedals.
TMBM, Teenage Mutant Bike Lane Marauder. You'll find these all over the internet with huge tires, dual motors, and of course, token cranks. And a whole lot of them are sold in the USA due to what we legally regard as a bicycle. And bicycling advocates are often tongue-tied on this topic.
That's true.
On the one hand, this is affordable and may replace a car.
Easily.
But on the other hand, it creates a lot of confusion.
And that's the problem, man. It's like, okay, look, we see that these things can be very useful. We see that, there is a demand for them, but, they get put into the wrong hands and bad things happen,
Bicycles that look like this one are causing a public outcry across the country. Right now, everyone, including New York City mayoral candidates, are uttering the word e-bike in not a good way.
When I'm at town halls, this is what I hear about.
Yep.
All these different vehicles have been in bike lanes and on our streets. We're going to lower the speed limit to 15 miles an hour because that's what safety is all about.
All while somehow approving 16-foot-long, 500-pound cargo quads with token cranks for bike lane use. And it's these token cranks that are causing so much confusion. In fact, it's so confusing that many of you might not even know what confusion I'm talking about. So today I'll break down what makes this legally a bicycle, why many of these...
Okay, so there's a lot that he's talking about here. And there's a lot that people don't know. People think e-bikes, the first thing they think is fast. And that's not what e-bikes are all about. A lot of e-bikes are meant to be adaptive. To actually use on trails, like bike trails. The problem is people are using the wrong kind of bikes in the wrong kind of trails, and a lot of people are getting hurt, and that's why there's all this legislation popping up, man. It's getting wild out there.
TMBMs are not legally bicycles, and why that can have disastrous consequences. I'm Seth from Burn Peak, and I'm finna ruin some high school kids' lives.
He's out, man. He's out. Oh, let's get rid of this ad. Skip it. Skip it. Skip it. It's funny. My kids didn't grow up watching the television. They didn't know what commercials were when they were really young, and they just knew about the ads from YouTubes and stuff. So when they see an ad, they would say, "Oh, it's a skip ad," because they thought, you hit the skip ad button to skip it, but they just called it a skip ad. Never mind, I'm stupid.
Let's start with the e-bike classification system here in the US, which can vary at the state and local level. The Consumer Product Safety Act defines a low-speed electric bicycle as a 2- or 3-wheeled cycle with fully operable pedals, an electric motor, under 750 watts, which is insane, and a top speed of 20 miles per hour on motor power alone. This has pedals. Fully operable is up for debate. It's limited to 20 miles per hour, and it has 2 wheels, so it checks out as a Class 2 e-bike. That means you can ride it on public roads without a license, registration, or insurance. And to be perfectly honest, that's great. I think people should...
It is great because, look, a road bike, you can easily get to like 25 miles per hour on a road bike. And, you know, they don't require you to have licenses or anything like that for it. So why should they do that for e-bikes that have a top speed of 20 miles per hour? You know, it just comes back to education, my friends. We just got to
should have
educate.
the freedom to use small, affordable electric vehicles to get around town without the government's nose in their business. But we need to find a way to let people have their freedom while drawing a clearer line between this and an electric moped. For example, this bike has 2 motors, 1,500 watts, and these kids look like trouble. This TMBM
they look like
is
trouble
not
because what, they look like Korean pop stars.
a bicycle, not even legally speaking, and yet it has the same token pedals and cranks as this one. So if the pedals don't make it legal or change its classification, then why does it have them, and what is it classified as anyway? Well, you see, that's where things can get confusing, and the confusion is often fatal. Class 1 e-bikes have pedal assist up to 20 miles per hour.
Which we know.
Class 2 e-bikes have throttles up to 20 miles per hour.
Yep.
Class 3 e-bikes have pedal assist up to 28 miles per hour. Go beyond that, and you're in moped territory, which varies by locality in terms of the exact speed, power, and whether or not it has pedals.
All right, so to summarize all that, okay, let's just stick to 4 classes. Class 1 e-bike goes up to 20, no throttle, okay? A lot of the rad power bikes are Class 1. They don't have a throttle. Okay, but also there are a lot of rad power bikes that are Class 2. Same, but have throttle. Okay, they cap them off at 20. And those are the bikes that I use. They're great. They go a long distance, and they have a throttle. It's great to have a throttle because sometimes you don't want to pedal, okay? But the pedals are there to keep them, you know, legally e-bike, not an e-moto or a moped, which you end up being Class 4. Class 3 is anything up over 20, but you're still with a throttle and pedal assist. So like it goes up to 28, you're Class 3. And then like he said, Class 4, you got to have a license for those mopeds and stuff like that in certain states. Okay, it's differentiating now a lot more. But most states, they're requiring you to have a license now. In fact, even at the Electrify Expo, if it's like a Class 4 moped type at Electrify Expo, you won't be able to try them out unless you have a motorcycle license. Crazy, right? But good.
One thing is pretty clear across the board. When you surpass 35 miles per hour, it's a motorcycle, which requires a driver's license, registration, and insurance. Horsepower versus wattage are sometimes interpreted differently from state to state, but the speeds are somewhat consistent. And so that AliExpress Black Warrior they're marketing to teenagers, that straddles the line between moped and motorcycle.
It does.
It's not even close to a bicycle.
$1,000?
But because moped laws vary so wildly, manufacturers put pedals on all of them just to cover their bases. And so as a result of dumb, outdated laws, many people don't even know that they're doing anything wrong.
Get fresh groceries delivered to your door with Kroger Delivery, proudly serving King Soopers.
There we go.
Because the truth is that most consumers don't know anything about e-bike classification, so they buy what is legally a moped or even a motorcycle, and they treat it like a bicycle. They let their 14-year-old ride it to school with nothing but a foam helmet, if that. It weighs a lot more than a bicycle. It doesn't maneuver like a bicycle. It doesn't stop like a bicycle. It doesn't look like a bicycle. And legally, it's not a bicycle. And as the power continues increasing, indeed, you get to actual motorcycle territory. And it still looks exactly like this.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Yet, motorcyclists are expected to follow all the same laws as motorists, and they're subject to the same fees and consequences. But a high school kid can buy a TMBM on Facebook Marketplace, and their parents will be none the wiser. But oftentimes, it's the parents who buy the freaking thing, and that's concerning too. In Santa Barbara, California, e-bike collisions have increased year after year, reaching 107 in 2024.
That's right.
This article on SFgate is extremely concerning, especially the quotes from a trauma surgeon, Dr. Ma. Ma notes,
Here we go.
Children are learning how to ride e-bikes before riding on pedal bikes, skipping critical lessons about bicycle safety along the way. That coupled with the heaviness of the motors and batteries on e-bikes can add to the danger.
Are you
stupid? The first part of this is annoying. The fact that cities like Santa Barbara have instituted no ride areas, age limits for e-bikes, and all sorts of regulations, which I'll argue in a moment, are redundant. But the other part is sometimes fatal, and many of the so-called e-bikes Dr. Ma is referencing would legally be considered mopeds and indeed motorcycles. Now, I find it necessary to pause for a moment and reiterate my support for micro-mobility and indeed actual motorcycles.
Thank you.
I'm pro e-bikes, and although I poke fun at teenage mutant bikeway marauders, I have no problem with them other than their misuse.
So that's a lot. That's a lot to consume. I mean, so let's step back for a second. Okay. So bottom line, parents are buying their kids these e-bikes, spending a couple grand, and letting them have this mobility option to go to school, friend's house, whatever. Some of them are even buying them e-bikes as their first bike. What the hell, man? Like, do people not understand that it's not always about the goal, okay? It's about the journey to the goal. If your goal is to learn how to ride a bike safely, I assume, because, you know, we want to naturally take care of ourselves and be safe, then do the right steps, okay? You get a bike. You learn how to ride it. You learn what the safety rules are. You learn what the rules are in your city so you don't violate any rules and get a ticket. Oh, wait. You don't even know how to ride a bike yet, so you got to get training wheels and stuff so that you could learn how to maneuver the bike, get used to, like, balancing it. And then, you know, maybe you could learn how to manual or, you know, wheelie. I mean, you do all that with a regular bike first because it's lighter. It gives you a chance to learn the rules better. And, dude, why would you spend your money on an e-bike when a kid doesn't even know all the rules yet, okay? Now, okay, let's take it another step. Let's say the e-bike is their first bike, okay? And there's nothing you can do about that. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. Okay. First, you got to educate them that, hey, buddy, this is heavier than a regular bike. This is harder to stop than a regular bike. Harder to turn than a regular bike. Dude, you know how many times I've seen people ripping around a corner on an e-scooter and they just don't expect that it's harder to turn? Because, well, you know, they're going like 25 miles an hour. They've never done that on a bike, let alone, something like a scooter. So they're trying to turn and then bam, dude, they just like smack into a wall because they've never done that before. Like, I've seen it in cities all the time, dude. It's dumb. So again, when you get on an electric vehicle like an e-bike or an e-scooter or an e-moped or whatever, I mean, you got to understand it is different than its regular manual counterpart. All right.
Many people use these responsibly for hunting and fishing and transportation around town.
There you go.
But anytime you say something critical about electric bicycles, someone on Facebook tries to sidestep the point you're making and call you ableist or classist. But it should be obvious by now that this video has nothing to do with assistive devices or the affordability of transportation. It's about a confusing and outdated classification system that makes it easy for manufacturers to accidentally or intentionally obfuscate the true nature of their thing with pedals. I'm arguing that it's confusing, potentially dangerous, and clearly wasteful. And at the local level, it's getting even more confusing.
Uh-oh.
This is what's
E-bike
referred to as a
deliveries in New York
cargo
City.
quad, and to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Amazon has a fleet of these in New York, and they have people pretty divided. Having ridden a bicycle in New York City recently, I felt a lot of anxiety in the bike lane. There was always somebody coming up behind me with a 40-mile-per-hour e-bike, all impatient. I could hear them huffing and puffing like I was an inconvenience to them on my, bike. On the other hand, these cargo quads are limited to 15 miles per hour. They're actually less threatening. And some people say it could lead to fewer vans and trucks on the road. But something about it still rubs me the wrong way as bicyclists.
Dude, hold on. I just noticed something. I just noticed this. Where you at, bro? There you at. Right, hold on. There. Hold on, maybe you can't. Are we wearing the same thing? He's got that thing on, and that's funny.
Threatening. And some people say it could lead to fewer vans and trucks on the road. But something about it still rubs me the wrong way as bicyclists keep getting squeezed out of the lanes and greenways they once fought to build.
Oh my God.
But I mentioned these cargo quads to make one thing clear. If 16-foot long, 4-foot wide box trucks with 500 pounds of cargo can be considered bicycles, then things are only getting more confusing. And things are also getting ridiculously wasteful. If you look at those cargo quads, they still have those stupid cranks and pedals as if they're doing anything.
Right. Those aren't doing anything, bro.
If there ever was a waste of a bicycle drivetrain, I understand that the future might look different, but can we absolutely exhausted?
Man, that's
wild, and my left foot keeps getting knocked off the pedals because of this freaking kickstand.
He can't use just the pedal is what he's trying to make a point of. It's not practical. Dude, one time my e-bike died and I had to pedal back, and it is possible, but you're not enjoying life at that point. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Look, he does not look like he's enjoying life right now.
I think you get my point. We're putting cranks on everything with wheels and a motor.
No need. Look at this thing. What the hell? It's like a giant cargo bike.
Now, sadly,
dude.
I'm mostly out of helpful suggestions, but it's worth taking a look at our friends across the pond. European countries have more or less gotten ahead of this issue by enacting much lower power thresholds. While our e-bikes are below 750 watts, most of Europe considers a pedelec over 250 watts a moped, which needs to be registered and insured. Notably, there's no such thing as a throttle e-bike in Europe either. That wouldn't be an e-bike, it would be something else. And how did throttles even become a thing? To be fair, it's widely known that those cranks are nothing more than throttle on-off switches. You guys can fact check me on the specifics, but it seems like differentiating between a legal bicycle and a moped is a lot easier in Europe than it is here. But the United States...
Oh, because Europe has a better control over their people, They do more brainwashing there. Don't get me into that. Come on, man.
Is not Europe. See, we're way behind European countries when it comes to bicycling infrastructure. So indeed, a lot of these get mixed in with vehicular traffic, often in places where drivers don't expect to see cyclists at all. There's a section of country road that I've pedaled before on my gravel bike, and oftentimes I need to sprint close to 30 miles an hour to get through something gnarly before cars catch up.
So... We do need to update the laws. I mean, the cargo vans in New York, that's crazy, dude. If you're just a commuter trying to get around and you got to deal with those things, they're going to have separate lanes soon. It's going to be delivery vehicle lanes and then pedestrian lanes. And then there's going to be confusion over who gets to use what. And then how the hell are you going to put another lane in New York? They're fighting over walking space. You ever hear people in New York? They're like, "What you doing? I'm walking here." People are trying to walk everywhere. Much less, how the hell are you going to make more space for more electric vehicles? That's why, hey, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? about, these laws. And if you know a way that I can get involved to help make a difference, help get some agency over the changes that are happening, let me know as well, because I'm down to fight for this cause, man. They keep taking away our nice, shiny things, and we gotta get them to stop. We got to make sure the laws are appropriate. We got to make sure that education is happening. My name is Mac, Radventurers, baby. Y'all stay rad. Cheers.